All right, it is 2 o'clock. It is 2 o'clock. So welcome to another EPX webinar. My name is Dan Ellis. I am the presenter today, and I am the owner of EPX Technical Services. I have been running the organization for the last 20 years. We, as an IT support company, an MSP, we look after around 70 companies and around 3,500 users. I'm going to give you today a guide to IT for business owners. That's what this webinar is all about. And specifically, that is what this series is all about. This is part 2 in a series we're doing on IT advice for business owners. Last webinar, we delivered a very successful course on integrating your business processes with the software systems that run your company so that you can get more efficiencies, more measurables. Today, we're covering, does my business need a vCIO? And of course, what is a vCIO? There are some little bits about the sort of people you'll find in a business who do IT, which we'll cover as well. Now you see some suggested courses, the bottom 3 items there about what may be coming, but this is for you. This is for you, the viewer. If there is anything you would like to see, email me. That is my email address. That's my personal email address. Let me know what kind of content you would like to see in these. Our day rate as a company is around £1,200, and this course is free. So if there's free IT advice you'd like, ask for it and we'll put it in this. Okay, so we're going to get started in what to expect. So today we'll do a little bit on, does your business need IT support? I'll tell you about the sort of people that you're going to find within an organization who were generally associated with looking after business IT. I'll explain what on earth a vCIO is and what they can do for you. So that's what you're going to get today. Firstly, the section, do I need IT support? So this is essentially to explain the point of today and the point of companies like mine. EPX is an IT support company that looks after business IT, and a lot of businesses may try and do IT themselves or not have support at all. So I'm going to go over just a few little elements. The first one is people may think that IT is actually getting simpler in the world at the moment because there's less servers to break. We're all going cloud-based applications, but there is a lot in the we don't know what we don't know. And this is all about hooking different systems together. What sort of cybersecurity tools do you need? What sort of threats are out there in the world? What best practices could your company be implementing? So can the team you've got in your organization, be they techie or be they non-techie, can they handle the growing IT demands of a business today? That's the first thing you should be asking yourself. Second thing is your business prepared for the threats out there today? I've covered in previous webinars that cyber attacks are accounting for a significant percentage of the planet's GDP. We saw a presentation some years ago which calculated the GDP combined of all the countries on Earth was something like $80 billion or 80 trillion. And I think cybercrime, organized crime, cybercrime accounts for about 8 or 9% of the GDP of the planet. So cybercrime is only increasing. And is your business prepared to combat the various threats that are out there? Can you afford the unexpected downtime? So unresolved IT problems on a business, I think we call this technical debt, unresolved issues that lead to outages or breaches or what have you, they can be very, very costly in productivity and customer trust. So you should be asking yourself, how prepared is your business to handle unexpected downtime? Because 2 ways of handling it really. There's making sure the downtime doesn't happen, which is a really tough ask, but businesses try to do that mostly. The second is how to mitigate the problems associated with an outage. You know, what are you actually going to do when something completely outside your control happens? The easy example I like to give is what happens if there's a car accident a few miles away that takes out a critical bit of broadband infrastructure and you find your whole office offline for the day. You can't plan to avoid that, but you can plan on what to do when it happens. So how well prepared is your business for that? This is one that a lot of people seem to approach our business for, needing help. can your IT grow with your business? Is your IT geared up to help your business grow? Or is your IT just there to fix stuff when it goes wrong? And finally, how distracting is IT for your core team, for your core business? A lot of businesses will feel very satisfied that they can fix that problem themselves and they don't need to spend money on a techie when it takes them all day. And the person who's doing the fix should really be doing whatever it was they were hired to do. So with all of these questions, you should be asking yourself these as company owners. Are you in a position where your IT is how you want it? Okay, that's that. Now, do you need IT support? The answer is pretty much always yes. Whether you buy it from our company or not, IT support is always needed in an organization. So I'm going to get on to how IT is generally managed. This is one of the larger sections of what I'm going to go through today. These are the sort of people you will encounter at different sizes of business who look after your tech. Now, no matter who does your IT, it will always fit into either external IT, that's outsourced, companies like mine, or internal IT, that's the in-house IT engineers. All businesses will fit into that. They may do a little hybrid of the two, but there will always be a combination of outsourced or internal. I'll go through all the externals first, and then I'll go through all of the internals. Firstly, when a business is first setting up and the budget is not exactly significant, where the priorities of the business are, can I pay the rent this month? We'll have that friend who knows a bit about IT, or we might be asking Google quite a lot, or the owners may know enough to get by, and that's okay. That's fine at that stage of the business. When it's one or two of you, that's all you need. Once you start getting people more dependent on you, that then tends to ramp up. And you find that the friend who knows a bit about IT may actually be a full-time contractor, or maybe they know someone who is a full-time contractor. You may find these self-employed one-man bands, IT company. And for a smaller business, that can be absolutely fine. So as the business then grows, they start thinking, oh gosh, well, this person didn't know what to do in that situation, or they took days to solve that. Is that normal? Or they were going on holiday when I really needed them. And that's when a business considers outsourcing to a larger company. So that's where these small IT companies generally come in. And when you're sitting at about 10 to 20 members of staff in your company, these small IT companies will do you well. The problem emerges as your business grows and you outgrow the small IT company. But you're such a significant customer to the small IT company, they don't want to let you go. So they're saying they'll do anything to keep you and they'll look after you. You get great relationships at that scale. You will know everyone in the company. Everyone will know your business inside and out at that scale of company. It's as you grow and as they grow, problems start to emerge. So if you're under about 20 people in size, these small IT companies can go well. But you do see a lot of companies that size. They don't manage to break through a lot into the smaller managed service providers. These are between 7 and 20 members of staff. Why that number? Because the small IT companies, if they want to grow past 7 or 8 people, that's where they need to hire managers, the first non-fee earners of the company. The ones who are not adding much revenue, but they're adding organization and skill and resource. But a lot of companies don't make it past there. Those that do, you get these little MSPs, which can be fantastic. This is where they'll start to bring in process. They'll start to bring in procedure. They'll start bringing KPIs and dashboards and organization. Those MSPs, they can do well for quite a long time. I'd say until you're about 50, 60 user networks, perhaps. The smaller MSPs, the 7 to 20 person MSPs, they can handle quite a lot. But when you grow a little bit more, so let's just say 50 users plus. If you have 50 or so members of staff, the smaller MSP just might not be enough, because that's the stage of business where you need guaranteed response times. You want to know that the way they solved a problem for this user is the way they solve it for every user. You want consistency. You want to know that the solutions they're bringing you are aligned to some form of best practice or framework. In the UK for cybersecurity, we have Cyber Essentials. In the US, we have NIST. CompTIA have some standard good ways, best practices for IT companies. Microsoft have some best practices. The smaller MSPs don't generally spend as much time on best practice, process, procedure, consistency, dashboards, KPIs. That's where you get the larger MSPs, the 20 people and over. And they can handle pretty much all scales of business. Generally, the larger MSPs will have pared down who they're willing to work with, and they won't work with companies of less than 15 or 20 people. And that's okay. If you were, I don't know, if you were a one-man band plumber, you wouldn't hire IBM to do all your IT. It's all about matching it correctly. You have to have the right size of business for the provider you're on. But the larger MSPs, 20 people or over, the second you can afford one of them, they're probably worth doing. But most businesses need to be a little bit bigger before they've got the budget for that. So that's all of the external. Next is internal. Internal staff members. This is back again when a business is first starting up. You've got the staff member who knows a bit about IT. And this is a little more iffy because the staff member who knows a bit about IT can handle many, many issues. The problem is it's back to this again. You don't know what you don't know. I encountered one company once, 50 user network, all managed by one person who was not an IT engineer. They just knew a bit about IT. No one was having any outages. Seemed to be going okay. But what we found, every single Office license was illegal. No computer was running updates because the engineer had disabled updates 6 months previously because one update revealed that they didn't have licensing and they didn't have a budget prepared. So they weren't able to license the whole network all of a sudden. So they just turned off updates. Every single user, had no logon. There was no logon credentials for anybody. These are the sorts of problems. Having a member of staff who knows a bit about IT, if you as a business owner, which is who this course is for, a business owner, if you as a business owner don't tell your internal IT people what success looks like, what is good, you may struggle in this situation. And good in IT doesn't just mean everything works. It could mean, have you planned for emergencies? Have you got safeguards in place for when an outage does occur? Because if everything's going fine, and then suddenly something happens in the IT world, that something could destroy your whole company. So the staff member who knows a bit about IT will often find themselves working with one of these contractors, depending on the size of your business, and that can be okay. That can be a fine way to grow a business for a little while. But after a time, you will find that having the person who knows a bit about IT working with external contractors isn't quite the best, and you may choose the little window where you can hire a dedicated technician. A dedicated technician is generally, if you can afford it, at about 15 to 20 members of staff, that's a good time to have a dedicated techie. But once you hit about 50 or so, a dedicated techie isn't as effective anymore because the dedicated techie, they could leave and all those years of knowledge will be gone and you'll have to hire someone in a hurry to do the handover. Generally handovers, 30 days a person can give notice, but hiring a new person is generally a 3-month window, not to mention getting them up to speed. The dedicated technician may not be operating to any process or procedure that is known because they're accountable to no one. They may be accountable to the business owners, but unless you are able to call them out on what they say or challenge them in a way that can be understood, they may just implement what they feel is right in the best of intentions. But unless you have some process and procedure, some frameworks they follow, dedicated technicians can be a bit tricky. Now, dedicated techs can be great, but bear in mind, you are after someone who can crawl under the desk and recable, take apart a machine and rebuild it, and also prepare your next quarterly IT budget report or deliver the long-term IT strategy to the team. People like that are hard to find, and you will need to provide some form of cover for when they go on holiday, provide them with a lot of training, provide them with office space, etc. Dedicated techs have their place. But if your business grows and you have quite a few dedicated techies, they may need an extra bit of help. That's where subcontracting comes in. We have had some fairly healthy relationships with techies who will use the services of IT companies for a little bit of extra help, and that can work great. However, once that grows, you may find, if you want to keep it all internal, that you need a few techies to cover holiday periods, to make sure that the knowledge is shared between the team, to make sure that the knowledge just doesn't all sit in the head of one person. That's where an IT manager can come in. An IT manager will generally handle contractual issues with suppliers. They'll handle negotiation, ordering things. They won't be too involved in the tech, but they'll meet with the board and discuss the long-term strategy of the company. And they'll do as they're told. They're essentially a team leader. And IT managers, they're about 40, 50,000 a year, and the IT team be about 35 to 40,000 a year, and then price of training, office space and equipment on top of that. We have had some good experiences with IT managers working with MSPs. That does work quite well. The IT manager can focus on business problems and the strategy of the company, and the MSP can focus on fixing the day-to-day issues you find in a company. If you have an IT manager who knows what they know, and most importantly, they know what they don't know, and they're going to get help for what they don't know, that is a very valuable thing to have. If you have an IT manager who can communicate in business speak with you, the company owner, the board member, or what have you, that is worth its weight in gold. That is what you should be expecting from your IT people. Don't expect it from a technician. It's not entirely fair. Technicians are there to do technical problem solving. If you want someone to discuss business strategy from an IT perspective with, that's where the IT managers excel. That's where they should excel. Now, once your business gets to around 150 to 200 members of staff, that kind of size, this is when you need to be thinking about IT directors or chief information officers, or depending on what your company product is, the chief technology officer, the CTO. So you need C-level execs, and IT needs to be a board level function. The IT people, they need to be in your planning meetings, in your leadership team, knowing where the company is going so they can be suggesting ideas to you about how the technical department can help solve that HR issue, how they can help scale that department over there, whatever it may be. This is a critical thing for a business. As you get to 150 or so users and up, start thinking about an IT director. Now, these people, they generally, 120,000 a year and up. They can be quite costly, but they are worth it. And if they're not worth it, if they're not delivering a return on investment, then they are the wrong person for the job. IT people, IT departments, or an IT director should be adding value to your business. It should not be a cost. However, we all know that IT directors can be quite costly. And this is where the virtual chief information officer comes in, or fractional chief information officer, where you are hiring someone of that caliber for a few days a month to join your board meetings and give advice. This is one of the things the larger MSPs are generally delivering. These 20 people and over MSPs, they will be getting involved at a strategic level. That is the difference between the smaller and the larger MSPs. The larger MSPs will be way more rigorous and focused on process procedure and helping you with strategy. So, vCIO time. What is a vCIO? And to start with, I shall address the elephant in the room, drawn by ChatGPT. Thank you very much. The term vCIO is thrown around a lot right now by MSPs. And there is no firm definition on what a vCIO is. And that's a big part of what I'm going to tell you about today. I have managed to take the vCIO definition and find it has about 3 possible meanings. There's 3 different definitions to vCIO that I've found. There's the account manager of your MSP that's been given a fancy title. There is the IT consultant you have hired to do a specific project or projects. And there is the fractional IT director, the person who does the job of an IT director part-time. Now, most of the rest of this presentation is going to be me explaining those 3 areas to you so that you can figure out what it is your business needs. So, first one, the account manager with a fancy title. This is a largely operational role that you will find. Their job, they will work for an MSP generally, and their job is to represent you, the customer, within the MSP. So they will be getting cross with the head of ops or the engineers on your behalf because they think that's what's needed to look after you. A lot of MSPs are doing this. They're taking the traditional account manager role and they're elevating it so that the account manager is more of a value to your business. They're not just there to sell you stuff. They're there to know your business. Oop, gone ahead. They are there also to act as a point of escalation. If you've got a problem They are your ally in the MSP. You speak to them and they can solve a problem for you. If a job's not getting done quick enough, if you've got a question about an invoice, that's what they do. This is the sort of modern account manager. They will manage the contracts and the agreements. That's something an account manager always did, but it's worth mentioning. They'll monitor the service delivery and performance. So their job is going to be to look at the response time that the engineers have been delivering. They will look at the KPIs that you have agreed with them. They will look at all these stats and figure out, is the MSP doing a good job for you, the customer? And finally, this is the most important bit. And if you're not using this out with your MSP, you're losing out. Providing you with regular updates and reports on our IT activities. Now, we as a company, we meet with our customers every 3 months. We have the vCIO go out and meet the customer to discuss strategy. But do not shy away from these meetings. Whoever your MSP may be, don't shy away from them. They should not be upsell meetings. Upsell may happen in them where the account manager recommends something to you, but that's not the purpose of them. The purpose of them is so that this person, the vCIO, can learn about your business from a non-technical perspective. They can say, what's going on in the business right now? What are your long-term plans? What's driving you nuts at the moment? What does a good day look like? And they'll take that knowledge and they'll tailor the IT experience that you're purchasing from the MSP all around that. Okay, so that's what that one definition of a vCIO may be. Just be careful. Lots of companies are using this term, and there isn't quite an agreement on what the term vCIO should be actually used for. But this is a big one. Lots of MSPs will deliver this vCIO service. If you have that service from your MSP, take advantage of it. Next, the IT consultant. This is much simpler a definition. This is a tactical role, and you will find that an engineer, normally quite a high caliber engineer, someone with project management, people, business skills, process skills, and as an afterthought, technical skill. They will be hired to do a specific project within your business. Maybe they'll want to make some reports. It's a bit low level. You'll probably give them the title, we want you to improve the overall customer experience through dashboards and reporting. So they'll go off, they'll talk with your vendors and they'll talk to your suppliers, they'll talk to your staff, and they'll figure out exactly what your business needs to deliver to improve that particular thing. This is the traditional IT consultant role. They are generally self-managed. That's one of the big differences between the vCIO as an IT consultant and your IT company's projects team. The IT company's projects team, you'll ask them for a thing, they'll spec it out and sell it to you. The IT consultant vCIO, they will interview your staff. They will go and set up meetings with your suppliers. You'll find yourself invited to a meeting one day that they're hosting to tell you about the status of where things are up to within your own business. This is quite a powerful tool, but generally it always costs. It generally always costs, and it's the other type of vCIO that you may encounter. There's one last type of vCIO, and that's the one that I would hope you get excited about. The fractional IT director. This is the one where I said if your company's more than 100, 120 users, you should start thinking about an IT director. Well, this is what you do before then. These people, they'll charge a certain amount per month. It's a few thousand type deal. And they'll come in, they'll sit in board meetings, leadership team meetings. They will talk to your suppliers, they'll talk to your staff, and they'll help you out with your IT strategy. Apologies, I've done a typo on this slide. That should say strategic role, not tactical role. My apologies. But their job will be to design your company's IT strategy and align it with your business goals. That's what it will be. They will be asking you what your goals are, and they will be helping you build an IT strategy. Next, they will be conducting IT assessments off their own back. They'll think about it. They'll book it in with your suppliers. They'll purchase an IT assessment and they'll say, hello, IT provider, give me a cybersecurity report for this business. Give me an efficiency report. Give me an energy report. Whatever it is, they'll be asking your business for stats. They'll be asking your suppliers for stats on your business. And they will be using this to suggest how you as a business could improve. This is all stuff you can expect from the fractional IT director. Their job will be to talk to you, the company owner, to figure out what it is you want out of your business. What do you want improving? What feels uncomfortable? Show me your numbers and we'll tell you how we can improve your business. This is all the stuff that the fractional IT director will do. Budgets. They will work with your finance team to figure out the IT budget. Now, we actually do this with our account manager, vCIO. And the way this is done is you look at all the IT assets of a business, you look at all the software as a business that the business uses, and you figure out, here's all the software, here's what we think Microsoft are going to do to the price next year, the year after, the year after. Here's how many users, and the IT director, or vCIO, and the head of finance will get together and they will project forward what the cost of the business per user, per computer, per whatever is going to be over the next few years. We also look at the warranty expiration dates on computers. So we can say, well, actually, in 2 years, this computer is going to be 5 years old. So you'll need to budget to replace that 2 years from now. You can actually project quite a long way forward. And the more mature a business gets, the more predictable you'll want your finances to be. So as your business grows, this is a core function that your fractional IT director, vCIO, should be delivering to you. Next is guiding what technology you purchase. Yes, they should be looking at what your business needs and figuring out how to solve the problems that you've got. So if you're after a new CRM, ERP system, MRP system, or if you're after a clocking in machine, this should be their job to oversee and make sure it all fits together with your plan, with your company's plan. They will be empowered to liaise with whoever they want, staff members, software, hardware vendors, the directors, the leadership team, whatever, because that's how they're going to be delivering the complicated projects that you seek. A fractional IT director, vCIO, you should be treating them as almost at the same level as the directors, not quite the same level as the owners, just a director level. You need to be having strategic business conversations with these people. So those are the 3 types of vCIO. It can be a bit confusing because the term is fairly undefined. MSPs will use this term to define an account manager. Some of the larger MSPs will have the account manager, well, will have the vCIO role delivered as a fractional IT director upsell. Or you may be purchasing this as you may be purchasing IT consultancy. Those are the 3 types you're likely to encounter. And each one of them has value to you, should be useful, and should be delivering improvements to your business. Talk to your provider about what options are the most appealing. Talk to them about what they can give you, what services. All right, so that's pretty much the end of it. I'll just review what we've covered so far. So IT is indeed a critical function for most businesses. I can't think of anywhere it wouldn't be. But you must find the right IT function to look after you depending on the type of business that you are. If you are more than 50 users, you should definitely have an MSP. And if you don't have an MSP, you should have an IT manager looking after at least one techie. If you are more than about 120, 130 users, you should seriously be considering director level IT. If you're under 20 users, my recommendation would be one of those small companies which have up to 3 to 7 people. They're pretty good for you. We gladly help you if you want, but these small companies they have their place. Next, as a company owner, whoever your IT function is, whoever your team is, if they're internal, if they're external, you should have a clear picture in your mind of what success looks like. Does success look like no downtime? Or does it look like half the work in the company is being done through automation? Does it look like accurate reports are being generated every week automatically on this dashboard that you can see? I don't know. It'll be different. It'll be different for everybody. You will have your own requirements. So make sure you have an idea of what success looks like. Otherwise, you will just be led by your provider. And that's okay. They're supposed to lead you from a technical perspective, but you should have an idea of what you want out of them from a business perspective. Know how your MSP is defining vCIO. Yeah, that's what most of today's been covering. Make sure you know how vCIO is being defined. And, well, I've said that already. And I've said that already. When you get to those points, consider hiring these people. That is actually everything. Ask questions if you want, but mainly my email address is there at the bottom of the screen, dan@epx.co.uk. If there is anything you would like to know as a company, if you want to clarify anything on all of this, let me know and I will give you a shout. Conversations are free of charge. Happy to help you with whatever you may need. But I'm pretty sure that's everything. I haven't seen any questions come through, which is probably a good thing. So thank you very much for your kind attention today. And had a question come through. How do you measure success of an IT strategy? And what metrics do you track regularly? Okay, that's two questions. So I'll cover question one first. So how do you measure the success of an IT strategy? So this is largely based upon the owner of the company. The owner of the company should be working closely with the IT director or vCIO IT director to figure out what the company strategy is. The strategy that you have come up with as a company should be plain English sentences, really. It should be, we want all of our customers to be able to interact with our business through a portal if they want to, so they can access whatever information they want. That might be what you decide to do. Or you might say, the sales team is not doing very well at follow-ups on old customers. We want that to be better. And from these plain English titles, you should be working to have a measurable goal come out of them. That's what the IT director's job is going to be go off and do. If you're saying we're not getting enough follow-up from our previous customers who previously bought something, you could say, well, what does it look like now? The IT director might ask. Or they might reach the sales director and they say, well, of the previous customers we've had 10,000 customers over the last decade, and only about 20 a year ever come back to anything. Okay, what do you want that number to be? What's the measurable for that? And we might go, okay, well, we'd like 10% of our customers to be returning for annual calibration of their machine, whatever it may be. And the IT director would go, okay, let's take the sales director and IT director would agree on the target, and the IT director might go off and discover that your CRM system has a function to automatically send follow-up emails to old customers that they would enable after working with the sales director to figure out how. So essentially, how do you measure the success? Firstly, you define it in plain English. Then you define it in terms of a measurable KPI. And then you put it on a dashboard where you can look at that measurable KPI every month and every quarter, or however often you feel it's necessary. That's how you measure success. You define it and then measure it. What metrics do we track regularly? So this is a tricky one because it depends on the customer. What metrics do you track regularly? One of our customers said, we do surveys of equipment, and we have roughly 100 different types of survey we could do, and they're all done on paper. How can you help us automate that? Well, that's easy. The metric we're tracking with them, how many of the surveys are done through automation? Out of 100. So 2 are done at the moment. 3 will be done next week remotely. Oh, sorry, automatically. So it depends on the company. The type of metrics we track regularly. I mean, as an IT manager, on a non-vCIO, I can give you a simpler answer. vCIO is more bespoke. Non-vCIO, like just IT manager, is simple. So an IT manager's KPIs might be, what is the SLA? An SLAs are normally the response time. How long does it take to respond to a user in trouble? And the other one is, how long does it take to fix the problem for the user in trouble? And generally, you define these KPIs, these SLAs, based upon the different urgency. The response time for fixing a printer in an office where there's 2 other printers might be quite low. But the response time for fixing the servers down and no one can do anything should be quite high. So those are some measurables. In our company, we have 3 SLAs. It's called respond, plan, and resolve. And respond, plan, and resolve, those 3. And we have 9 different priority levels. So that's 27 different SLAs we've got. But for the customer, we present it in the form of, here's the percentage SLA adherence. That's one thing we measure. We also measure things like the customer satisfaction. How happy was someone at the end of a tech support ticket? largely based upon their willingness to fill in the form. But yeah, I hope that answers that. The next one I've got here, what are your experiences in terms of return on investment, ROI, on a vCIO? Again, tricky. So let's go through each of the three types. The first type of vCIO I mentioned is the account manager. You as a company should be getting that for free, the enhanced account manager vCIO. As a company, that should be part of the, let me stop sharing here so you can see me. Hello. As a company, your MSP should be delivering that as part of your standard price. That's why MSP pricing is a little bit higher than average. So the return on investment with that, that's quite hard to define, because that should be, you are paying a price for an all-in IT department. And at the smaller stage of business, the return on investment, it's avoiding outages rather than generating you money. And if you're looking at it solely on a financial basis, that can be a bit trickier. If, however, the next phase, the next stage of vCIO, which is the IT consultant, that would be definable on a per project basis. If someone says, I can improve your CRM so it generates you more leads, it'll cost you £10,000 worth of consultancy to do that. I would hope you've got your £10,000 back within 12 to 18 months because of the improvements it generates, but that's up to you to define. The final type is the fractional IT director. Now, I would hope that within 6 months, they're up to speed, and within the next 6 months, they've made their money back in terms of business improvement. So within about a year, I hope they would be generating your business more in optimization and savings than they cost. So if you're paying £150,000 a year for a full-time IT director, my hope is within a year, they just saved you that. Especially because if you're thinking 200, 300, 400 person companies, there's probably £150,000 a year worth of wastage. One of the things we did for one customer is we looked into all of their 365 licensing across about 400 users. They were on the wrong type of license. And Microsoft licensing can be quite brutal. You got Microsoft 365 E3, E5. Those costs can be about £50 per month each. And some of the equivalents that they need may only be £30 a month. You multiply that by 500 users, you've got a pretty significant saving there. But it's not just Microsoft. We've had users with multiple licenses of the Adobe Creative Suite that they've not used, or multiple things where they're paying for broadband lines in buildings that are closed. We've had that before. So I would hope that the IT director would very, very, very quickly find problems like that in a business. Frankly, I'd hope that your vCIO account manager would find problems like that in a business for you. But yeah, that's some information on ROI. You may have noticed a pattern today. A lot of it says it depends. And that's because vCIO work is pretty specific to a company. It's pretty specific to you. You have to work with the vCIO to define exactly what it is you want out of their service. Anyway, I think that's everything. I haven't seen any more questions come through, so I will leave it there. My contact information, again, I will just pop up on the screen for the end. That is where you can reach our company. My email address is in the bottom left-hand corner. So anything you want, just give me a poke. In the meantime, thank you very, very much for coming. We will be doing another of these in a few months' time, but please, if you'd like any input on what we do it on, send me a message. Thank you so much, and farewell.